What's up, awesome YouTubers? Rhine1988 or Justin back here to do another video leading up to Halloween. So like I mentioned in my collection video before this video, starting September 1st, it is Halloween on. I got my decorations up. You see the tree back there. I have a Halloween tree and I absolutely love it. I have lights over there, lights over there. I have a jack-o'-lantern right here next to me. So it is all spooky stuff, my friends. And I talk about horror movies all year round, but this is the best time to talk about not only horror movies, but everything Halloween related, everything fall related. And for the next 2 months, you're going to hear me talk about a lot of movies that I've seen that I want to review. And a lot of these are movies that I haven't seen in a while, maybe 2 or 3 years. And I really haven't talked about them too much on this YouTube channel, except maybe the first time when I saw the movies and I reviewed them. And a lot of those reviews are from like 2009 and 2010. So we're going to be talking about some movies that I have talked about, but, we're going on with this movie I'm going to talk about 16 years later. And I know I reviewed it back in the day. I don't even know if I still have that video up. But my YouTube channel started almost 17 years ago. This movie came out 16 years ago. It does not feel like that. I think of my YouTube channel as something that's been around for 10 years. And we're going on 20 years soon. And then when I think about the movie Rob Zombie's Halloween 2... it doesn't feel 16 years old. Like, I feel like I saw this movie, 8 years ago for the first time. Like, it's just so weird to think about how much has changed, and not really changed, but like how the years have just flown by so quick. But Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 came out on August 28th, 2009. I was there opening night with a group of friends. Here's my movie ticket. I still have it today. And I was a big fan, still am a fan, of Rob Zombie's first Halloween. So I knew that I was going to go see this opening night, opening night. And I walked in excited, and I loved it coming out. Like, I still love this movie today. I loved it then. But I also knew that this movie was so different that it was going to divide people, and Halloween fans were either going to love it or hate it. And let me tell you something. When this movie came out, I said I loved it right away. And there were a lot of people that thought I was crazy pretty much, because a lot of people hated this movie. This was not like a fan favorite movie that it is now. Like, the movie pretty much was hated by so many people. Especially, diehard Halloween fans. And, prior to this movie, I'm still a diehard Halloween fan, but prior to this, I was a huge Halloween fan. Like, John Carpenter's Halloween is my all-time favorite movie. And then, this movie comes out, and it just, like I said, so many people hated it, and I got some backlash within the comments back then on why I love this movie. How do I love this movie? I don't understand it. Like, a lot of those comments, not word for word, but there was a lot of backlash sometimes for loving this movie. Shout out to my buddy Nick, the Lost River Drive-In. He's a huge fan of this movie too, and he's loved it since day one like me. And he would definitely tell you, hey, the hate was just crazy back then. People still don't like it now. It's still divided in some areas, but I feel like this movie, even people who disliked it then, are appreciating the movie more now. 16 years later, this movie has built this fan following. And it's being appreciated more for what it is. I love the fact that this movie is different, from the look of it, the story, the atmosphere. It has one of the best Halloween atmospheres, by the way. But the atmosphere, the dread, everything about this movie, I just love so much. It's It's got a lot of great sequences. Like, one of my favorites is definitely the nightmare sequence that Laurie is having, and it's a black and white scene, and you have Laurie in a coffin, and she's surrounded by all these different ghouls, and that was different for a Halloween movie. You know, we didn't really have that before, and Rob went there with it. You know, he didn't have complete creative control with this movie. You know, it's come out later. He's come out later saying that, like, the Weinsteins were always after him with this movie. And they were after him with the first Halloween film. But when you look back at both of his Halloween movies, he definitely had more of creative control of this film, and you see it with the movie. And again, it divided so many people then. I loved it then. I love it now. So the dream sequence is one of those things that really stands out. Obviously, the biggest thing is the white horse, Sherry Moon zombie ghost that pops up throughout the movie. One of the most awesome things about this release of the film, either if it was the DVD or the Blu-ray or the 4K, it doesn't have a 4K. The commentary is awesome. Like, Rob does such a great job with commentaries on his movies, and I remember getting the DVD when it first came out on DVD, listening to the commentary, and I loved his explanation, or his how he was explaining the white horse segment throughout the film, like why Sherry was there, what was the deal with the white horse. Like, he went into it, and I really loved how he explained the idea of the white horse and how that was death. And, you know, when somebody sees that, death is coming to them. They're going to pass. So while people were divided with that, I was a big fan of the white horse, Sherry Moon zombie stuff. You know, a lot of people want to say that he just threw her in there to throw her in there, and that might be true, but I love Sherry Moon Zombie, and I really feel like she had a purpose with this movie, because the movie was about family overall, and so you got it with the movie, whether you loved it or hated it. Story was strong again. I feel like this story was a stronger story than the first film. Again, Rob really had more control with this. Performances wise, I think this is the strongest thing about this movie, and the characters, like our returning characters, really talking about the returning characters. I think they're very strong, both character wise and performance wise. The biggest one being Laurie Strode, Scout Taylor Compton. I love her in this. You feel so bad for her in this movie. Like, she's dealing with her grief from the events of the first movie. And a lot of things happen throughout this movie that she's never going to be the same Laurie Strode that we knew before. Like, she has changed. And even when she's trying to, you know, have some glimmer of hope of future happiness, things always happen to her. You know, when she finds out that, you know, she's related to Michael, like, she didn't know that about in the first movie. So she finds out that she's related to Michael and to Sherry Moon's character, and that happens in this movie. And then she finds out that her name is Angel Myers instead of actually Laurie Strode. So her grief is just heartbreaking in this, and it's devastating. That being said, she gives an amazing performance in this film, and I feel like her performance is a little bit overshadowed. Is that the word to use? Underrated. It's not as appreciated nowadays than what it probably was back then, because we've had other Halloween movies come out, and I feel like Rob's films get so much hate that, you know, these movies kind of get pushed under the rug, and with that come with, you know, the performances. Like, I love Scout Taylor Compton as Laurie Strode, and she is one of the best things about the Halloween franchise, hands down. Another performance I love, Annie Brackett in this movie, played by Danielle Harris. You know, Danielle Harris was known for Halloween 4 and 5 before Rob's first Halloween movie came out. And I was super excited when they announced that she was coming back to the franchise, obviously being a big fan of her work in Halloween 4 and 5, and Jamie Lloyd being one of my favorite characters in the franchise. It was great to have her back in the Halloween universe, or the Halloween timeline, because there's so many of them now. But while I loved her in the first Rob Zombie's Halloween, I thought she was much better in this. I think character-wise, if she was developed a little bit better. She's dealing with her own grief. And she's also now having to, be the bigger sister to Laurie. Because in the first movie, they were friends. And in this movie, they're now, more like sisters than anything else. And they really don't have the strong friendship that they had in the first movie. They both went through something horrific. And, when Laurie looks at Annie, it's not the same Annie that, was her friend. And I'm sure the same thing is with Annie as well. Like, Annie's, again, having to kind of move on when she, really deserves to kind of have her moments of grief. She really can't, because she is being that big sister to Laurie now. But Danielle Harris does such a wonderful job in this. Like, she's the second strongest performance, if not the best. I don't know. I go back and forth between Laurie and Annie in this movie. Like, who is the best? Like, is Danielle Harris better in this movie? Is Scout? I'm going to say equally right now, because I just love them both. And that leads into the emotion in this movie. There's so much emotion. Characters having to deal with grief. It's heartbreaking. But then you have probably the saddest death in any death in the Halloween franchise, and that is the death of Annie Brackett in this movie. Spoiler alert if you've not seen the movie. It's 16 years old, so her death is so heartbreaking. And it's, from the moment she sees Michael in the bathroom mirror behind her, and when she turns around, her reaction is just so sad. Like, this is the first time in this movie that we're seeing Annie, like, all that grief and all that fear that she has had to hide away is now kind of summoned back up when she sees Michael Myers. And it's so sad. She's, running from the bathroom to the other room. He's going after her. You really don't see her death happening. You see the aftermath of it, but you hear it, and it is so sad. Like, I remember tearing up in theaters when I saw that. I was getting teary-eyed when I rewatched it. That is just emotional. And then you have the aftermath of Laurie coming in and seeing Annie, on the ground, bloodied up. And Scout's performance in that moment is just heartbreaking, because even though she didn't see Annie the same way that she did in the first movie, she still loved her. And I always felt like the death of Annie was the last thing that Laurie had from her past that she had attached on. If that makes sense. Like, Annie was the last great thing that she had in her previous life. And when Annie dies, that's gone. Like, that connection is gone. Like, she is now this sad and depressed and heartbreaking person. And that last glimmer of hope, that last glimmer there from her past is now gone with Annie's death. Like, it is so sad when you watch Scout's performance and you just see her crying and getting emotional and, saying the line, "Don't leave me, baby." That was her last, that last thing that she was holding on to from her past that was now gone. It's really sad. And then jumping into another great performance in this movie, and that is Brad Dourif as Sheriff Brackett. I loved him in the first movie. I thought his casting was great. It was perfect. And then I loved him even more in this film. And you talk about the third act, and when he finds Annie dead on the ground, and it's emotional. Like, even before he even sees her, you know, there's a strong moment in this movie. It's very quick, but it's very strong, and it's his performance where he's about ready to walk into the room and see, you know, Annie dead on the ground. And he gives out this like performance where he's like, "Where is she?" And his eyes are wide. And I was like, wow, like that was a great moment. That was a great performance there. And then, of course, when he sees Annie dead, that's really sad. And then he has to deal with finding Lori and knowing where she is, and, you know, when they, you know, tell him that there was a man spotted with a girl at this, you know, shack, instead of, you know, just staying there and grieving from the death of his daughter, he's, you know, gets up and he's ready to go and face Michael and, you know, rescue Lori. Like, he's just ready to go. And what an amazing performance from Brad Dourif. I just really loved him in this. Tyler Mane as Michael Myers, one of my favorite Myers. Like, he is just so awesome, and he's so wicked, and, you know, he's also vulnerable. Like, in the first movie, he's vulnerable. Like, a young Michael Myers is vulnerable. Like, his home life is terrible. He's also a character in the first movie that, like, throughout the whole time that he was in this asylum, like, the only glimmer of hope that he had left was the fact that he knew his little sister was still out there somewhere. And you get to the first movie when he is in the basement with Lori, and he doesn't understand why she doesn't know who he is. Like, he's just, like, kind of hoping that she's going to recognize me. And when she doesn't, and she stabs him, like, I think that's the end of it. I think he is now this killing machine. He was a killing machine before, but that hope that he had, that last hope, that last part of his past that he had, was gone, basically. And he just became the evil person that we knew. But Tyler Mane, even though he doesn't really talk in these movies, you know, he has a couple of moments in the director's cut of this film, you know, where he says die, but he doesn't have to sing anything, and his performance is just still awesome. Like, he's one of my favorite Michael Myers in the franchise. I know a lot of people complained, especially when this movie came out, or when both movies came out, that he was too big for it, he was too tall, he was too strong. How could he flip over that van in Halloween 2? Like, I heard all that stuff when the movie came out. And I'm like, that's BS, everybody. Like, Tyler Mane is wonderful in these films. And he's a tall guy in person. Like, he's super nice. I've met him at least maybe once or twice. He's super tall. And he's a fantastic Michael Myers. I love him. Out of the performances in Halloween 2 with returning characters that have come back that I'm not a fan of, and I'm still not really a fan of today, is Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis. It's not the fact that he's a bad actor. He does a great job in this movie. It's the way that he was portrayed in this movie. In the first Rob Zombie's Halloween, he was one of my favorite characters in the film. In this movie, I don't care for him. I feel like it was such an odd direction to go in. Like, you know, he was fame hungry now, and he's, you know, taking, you know, especially Lori's, it's taking Lori and putting her in the spotlight when she doesn't want to be in the spotlight. You know, he's digging up this history of Lori and Michael, how they're brother and sister, and, you know, kind of using her life to make him famous, pretty much. And Michael, you know, even though there's a couple of times where he has these outbursts when the reporters are asking him, you know, do you think Michael's alive? Like, he just goes crazy about it, but, like, he's not afraid to, like, write it in his book. And also talk about Annie and talk about Linda dying. And you have that moment where, Dr. Loomis is in this bookstore and he's obnoxious and he's rude and he's just awful. And you have Linda's dad show up and try to kill him, but you see the grief that the dad is going through, you know, while his actions are wrong, like he's having to deal with this because here's this man, Dr. Loomis, just seeking all this fame and making money off of people that have dealt with some tragic stuff. And even the death of Linda and her dad having to deal with it. It's breaking his heart. It's broke his heart. He's a broken person now. So Malcolm McDowell is one of my least favorite parts about this movie. Rewatching it the other night, like, you know, at the end of the film when he tries to redeem himself and he goes into the shack to confront Michael, like that was the only time in the film where he realized that he messed up and so he's going to try and fix all this. And watching it now, I get it. Like, I'm like, okay, you know, he's trying to fix the mistakes that he's made, you know, he's trying to redeem himself, but I think at that moment in the film, it's a little too late because we've had this obnoxious character in the rest of the movie that, you know, you just don't really care for him in this film. Again, even when he's trying to redeem himself. When I first saw this movie, one of my issues was how quickly he was able to just like change like that and be like, okay, you know, now I'm going to try to go and, you know, fix all this stuff. But now as I watch it, you're seeing this character develop from, you know, this obnoxious guy to at the very end of the movie, he is trying to fix it. Even if, you know, the mistakes have already been made and everything's set in stone, like he's trying to fix it. His death in the movie, you know, again, just because of the way he was written in this movie and how he acted, not the performance, but how Dr. Loomis acted in the movie, his choices, I didn't really care if he died or not in this movie. I cared more when he almost died in Rob Zombie's first Halloween than I did when he actually died in this movie. I know that's crazy to say, but, you know, when you don't have a character that in a movie is like the best character, it's hard to attach yourself to them. So he's one of my least favorite things about this movie and one of my least favorite characters. I also love the character of Violet, one of the new characters, Bree Grant, I believe. She's one of Laurie's friends, and, you know, after everything that Laurie's went through, like, you know, this new person that's come into her life, and I really love Bree Grant in this movie. I think she's great. Again, this movie gets so much hate, or really got a lot of hate when it came out, that those performances are overshadowed, so you don't really talk about them. And I think Bree Grant's great in this movie, and I think she's a great character. And you have her other friend, I can't remember the character's name. She's, you know, does a fine job, you know, performance-wise, but like you don't get attached to as much to like you do with Violet and Laurie's relationship. I think I went over all the characters. Definitely one of the best things about the movie is the performances and the characters in this film and the development and the development or story arc that these characters go through in this movie. Some other things I love about it. I love the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere is so great, and I love the Halloween atmosphere. Not the strongest Halloween atmosphere in this franchise, but it's one of the best. And when I watched it the other night, like, it just got me in those fall feels, and I was like, I love this. This is great. Set pieces, pretty good overall. Like, the setting is good. You could definitely tell, and this is another one of my small cons with the movie, that they shot the movie in a different state, different location. Even the Myers house, when you see it in the movie, even though they tried their best to replicate the house from Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie, it still feels different, and I kind of question, you know, some of the thought process that went into that. Music-wise, Tyler Bates just did it. He did it again. Once again, did an awesome job like he did in the first movie, and he did a great job bringing some of that music from the first movie, but also including some new music. like with Annie's death, like that Laurie's the theme that is playing throughout the time that like Laurie's just like just crying on the ground. That's one of the best scores in the movie. Story-wise, again, I feel like this is a stronger story compared to his first Halloween. Rob had to, like it with the remake formula, with his first Halloween, he had to do that remake formula of doing something new while also paying tribute to John Carpenter's Halloween. And in this movie, he had more creativity there. Even though the Weinsteins were always like behind his back telling him to change everything, I feel like this movie, compared to his first Halloween, he had more creative control. And you see that with the story, and you see that with his direction, like the nightmare sequences, the visuals in the movie, the music choices, like Nights in White Satin is great. And that's another thing I want to talk about, the opening of it. Like, I haven't brought that up yet. I love the opening of this because it plays with you. You know, when this movie opens up, it picks up right after the first movie. Laurie is picked up by Sheriff Brackett. They go to the hospital. You have a like good 15 minutes, 15-minute opening where you think it's going to be like a straight up remake of Halloween 2 from 1981. And then dream sequence or that opening ends and Laurie wakes up. It's 1 year later. So it messes with you a little bit. That surprised me when I saw it. I thought that was great. And I love the opening. Like, the hospital stuff is awesome. It's brutal. Octavia Spencer, like, I think she, this was like before she did The Help. And so The Help really made her like the well-known famous person that she is now. But, you know, she's going to have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 to her IMDb credit. And, again, a brutal death in the movie. So looking back on Rob's film, by the way, I also love his directing. Like, I think he did a great job with this movie. But looking back on Rob's movie, Rob's Halloween 2, direction is great. The characters are strong. The performances are strong. The music's awesome. I love so much about this movie. Like, it has its cons. Like I said, Dr. Loomis, not really a big fan of him still today in this film. You know, they could have tried better with some of the location settings. But I love it. Like, again, you know, I have no problems with the White Horse segment. Like, I don't have problems with Sherry in this movie. Like, that all fits in the film. Like, when you think about and you hear that commentary and Rob talking about all that, you know, the White Horse is like a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a representation of death. People about ready to die, even if they don't know it. When you see that white horse, some people see it and then they die later on, and that's in this movie. Yeah, the young Michael Myers that pops up, that's what Michael Myers is only seeing, is young Michael Myers and his mom. No one else sees it, and then Laurie at the end sees Sherry Moon and young Michael Myers. Those are the only two people that see Deborah Myers and a young Michael Myers. So the White Horse stuff, I love it. I know some people dislike it. I don't have a problem with it. Overall, again, I love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This is still a movie that holds up very well today. Like I said, with, you know, his first movie, I loved it when I first saw it. I loved it for the first years, and then over the years rewatching it, there's things that don't age well about it. Which I want to, you know, watch that movie again and talk about it. But with Halloween 2, this movie is even better 16 years later. It's one of my favorite Halloween movies. It is, if it's not in my top 5, it's top 6. Like, I don't know where I'd rank this. Like, my ranking always changes. But I will always love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I'll always defend Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. That will always happen. Again, more people are loving it now, and that makes me happy. But man, when this movie first came out, I got slammed for loving this movie. It's crazy how things have changed. And I'm happy the movie's getting loved now. I just wish more people would have loved it then. Like, I'm glad they're appreciating this movie now. Some people are appreciating this movie now compared to when they first saw it, but that first few years were rough, man. I'm just saying, like, it was rough for people who love this movie, who had to defend this movie because a lot of people would comment and say that they were wrong. Like, they said I was wrong for loving it. So, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, look back on it. It's fantastic. I'm going to say that right now. A fantastic movie. Close to a masterpiece in my eyes. Real quickly, I'll show you. This is the Director's Cut Blu-ray. It's signed by Scout Taylor Compton. I'm not the biggest fan of the Director's Cut. There are things I do love about the movie, but overall, just not the biggest fan. But I love the theatrical cut. You know, I'm running out of time. I'm not going to compare both cuts of the movies. I am more of a theatrical cut person. And this is one of the only ways you can get the movie is this Canadian double feature Blu-ray of the theatrical cut of the first movie and Halloween 2. And then lastly, of the editions I have of these films, I love this nice steelbook that we got a couple years ago from Walmart. It has Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 in there. I wish they included the theatrical cuts. They do not. It's sad. You know, again, not the biggest fan of the director's cuts, either one of the movies. But, you know, it's a 2-discer. It's pretty cool. And that was awesome that Walmart did that a couple years ago. And lastly, before I go, one of the other things I wish we would be able to see is a documentary on the making of Halloween 2. Because let me tell you what, when Rob makes documentaries, they are amazing. Like, every documentary that he has come out with, I have watched, and I appreciate those so much. But I've heard that the behind the scenes were so rough with this movie that it would be hard for Rob to want to release it. Like, he's trying to move on, and I know he's not, like, the biggest fan of the making of these movies. Like, even though I love the movies, or I love Halloween 2, I know he had a rough time with the movies, making the film, so he doesn't want to look back on that. But I remember at the time when the Blu-ray came out, I was like, where is a documentary on this? And now, years later, decades later, or over a decade later, I can now understand why they don't have that documentary. But it would still be cool to see, just to kind of see a making of process of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it's 32 minutes long. These videos are probably going to be like this because I really want to go in depth with these movies. Some will be longer than others, but I hope you loved it. I'm a huge fan of this film, and I want these next 2 months to be really special for not only me, but for you all, because you all deserve this. I appreciate you all so much, and I thank you for your support and for your love. Again, thinking about my time on YouTube, this is crazy to think that, you know, we're going to come up 20 years soon. So, but I'm going to let you go. So as always, you all are awesome. You all rock. And with the positive out with the negative. And I'll talk to you all later. And much love.